Jesus Christ, that's Jason Bourne. Why would he come back now?
Because of all the meme potential, Tommy Lee Jones. That's why Jason Bourne is back. Also, why is Jason Bourne back for reals? Did you see the Bourne Legacy? That's why he's back, and so is Paul Greengrass. But, welcome to Time About the Movies, everybody. We're wrapping July up with 3 movies on July 29, 2016. And we're starting off with the biggest of the new releases, which is, of course, Jason Bourne. And in this movie, the most dangerous former operative of the CIA, Jason Bourne, Matt Damon, is drawn out of hiding to uncover hidden truths about his past. So yeah, the Bourne movies were definitely at their best when Matt Damon was Jason Bourne, and the one time the series wasn't good was when Jeremy Renner took it over. So naturally, with both Matt Damon and Paul Greengrass back, you think we go back to where we started from, you know, we do get a lot of the good things that made the Bourne trilogy so special, and thus, this should make the movie pretty awesome, right? It is, but kind of not. Now, don't get me wrong. We do get a lot of the great elements that make the original Bourne movie so great. The action is badass, the cast is doing a good job, the visual look at the film is impressive, the director is top-notch, so how can you not go wrong? Well, honestly, that's the thing with this movie. We're getting a lot of the great things we loved about the original trilogy, but at the same time, there isn't really a whole lot new being offered to us here like the original trilogy gave us. I think really what it comes down to is that the original trilogy worked because it wrapped the story up. And the whole point of doing the Bourne Legacy with Jeremy Renner was that we were supposed to have a new Bourne saga with a brand new Jason Bourne, and unfortunately that failed. So we have to go ahead and bring Matt Damon back into this in general, and that is kind of the biggest problem with the movie in general. It's like when they brought Sean Connery back after they replaced him with George Lazenby in the original James Bond movies. And yeah, Diamonds Are Forever... Was that the one? Diamonds Are Forever was the Sean Connery one, because Our Majesty's Secret Service was the one with George Lazenby. Yeah, Diamonds Are Forever was the one that they brought Sean Connery back after the Lazenby James Bond film was not a great success. And that was good, but yeah, it seemed like time had passed for the Sean Connery as James Bond era at that time, or at least we thought, because he would come back one more time in about 10 plus years later with Never Say Never Again. But, yeah, the time had to change for a new James Bond back then. Here, Matt Damon returning to the role as James Bond is always going to be great for the franchise because he fits that character so well. And he could still show off how much of a badass that character of Bourne is, while also showing off that deeper story arc he's going through, something that Jeremy Renner didn't have much to do with the Bourne Legacy. The rest of the cast overall is really good too, but once again, the highlight of the movie really is Alicia Vikander, who has breakout films in many of the movies she's in, even the bad ones. But once again, she has a really great role in this movie. She's one of the things that definitely puts this movie on a little bit of a higher caliber than it probably should have. The action sequences overall are great. They're spectacular to look at, and once again, Paul Greengrass does a great job of directing these really impressive action sequences, especially at the end of the movie where they're in Las Vegas and you see that SWAT truck just taking out numerous cars all at once. It's over the top, but I'll be damned if it isn't fun at the same time. Although, am I the only one who's surprised that Universal kept it in there after the attacks in Nice, France that happened earlier in the month? I mean, kind of a little similar to that, except the cars getting smashed. It was cars getting smashed instead of people. But if you don't remember what happened in Nice, Italy, yeah, that was around the time that it happened. I was actually kind of surprised that they did keep it in there after those attacks. But that does lead to some of the problems I have with the movie. For one thing, the story they have this time around is that nothing's really all that exciting in this one. It uses a lot of the same plot points from the Bourne Legacy, but instead it's Matt Damon and Paul Greengrass instead of Jeremy Renner and Tony Gilroy. It felt like Universal just took that script for the Bourne Legacy and told Matt and Paul, can you guys make this better so we can restart this franchise again? Because we tried last time and oh boy, it failed miserably. One thing that struck me right out of the bat with this is that a lot of the scenes from the trailer, Bourne punching out the dude in one hit in the beginning, Julia Stiles telling Damon, remembering everything doesn't make you know everything. The whole the memeable line of Jesus Christ, that's Jason Bourne. A lot of those moments are not in this movie. I'm not even kidding. That stuff you see in the full trailer, that's not in this movie at all. I mean, they shot all that stuff just for the trailer? Why? They took out the best stuff from the trailers, and they didn't even bother to put in the actual movie. And they were the fun things that looked like the movie would have somewhat of a sense of humor over, which the more I think about it, there was really not a whole lot of lighter moments in this in the other movies. They at least in the other movies they at least had some lighter tones and some elements from a bit, but here there's none of that. It's like for some reason this is one of those periods of time where Hollywood just basically decided, no, we need to go dark for our next film. It's like 2013 all over again. You remember Iron Man 3, Star Trek in the Darkness, Fast and Furious, Hangover Part 3, Fast and Furious 6 didn't really go dark all that much, even though it did try to a little bit, but yeah. It's like that, we had that this year with Batman v Superman, X-Men Apocalypse. We're allowed to have fun in our action movies, right, Hollywood? But on top of that, it resorts back to the lame predictability that hurt Bourne Legacy. You can pinpoint what's going to happen. You can pinpoint who's going to die. You can pinpoint who's going to double-cross you. You can pinpoint how it's going to end. I shouldn't be going into a Bourne movie expecting to know everything that's going on. The biggest complaint, and I mean the biggest complaint with this movie that I have, is the whole social media subplot was completely pointless. It's a bad diversion for the more interesting story going on. I mean, it was just bad, and the subplot isn't written well at all. It's like there's a purpose. It's not like there's a purpose or a point to it. It's just an excuse to remind us about, hey, remember the time when Apple refused to give us FBI access to the phones to find out who was the killer in the San Bernardino shootings? Remember that? We're going to bring it up in this movie. It's just like, there's no point for it to be there except to just be lame commentary with no motivation or purpose. But again, there's one little thing I liked about it, and that's the actor who plays the Steve Jobbish Wunderkind, Riz Ahmed, who you remember from, he was in Rogue, I think he was in Rogue One, right? Yeah, he was in Rogue One, he was in The Sound of Metal. He's a great actor. He's done a lot of great stuff overall. And he was in the Mona, of course, and he's a really good actor, but yeah, he's the best thing about that whole subplot, but the rest of the subplot overall was pretty fucking bad. I mean, despite all those complaints, which would make this probably just as bad, if not worse than The Bourne Legacy, there are still those elements about this movie that I did really enjoy. Is it the worst of the Damon Greengrass movies? Yes. But it's not a mess of a film. I would at least say that if you're watching a marathon of this and you just, if you're watching, if USA Network decided to run the Bourne movies and it was Bourne Identity, Bourne Supremacy, Bourne Ultimatum, and that cuts to Jason Bourne, you still get a really good trilogy, a really good series of films overall. This is like that extra fourth film that was really unnecessary, but there was at least some validness to it. It's like the Toy Story 4, the Kung Fu Panda 4 of this series. But it's at least better than the Bourne Legacy, which is the most you could say about it. At least they're getting better with this. But yeah, it's not the greatest of the Bourne movies overall. It was a film that was really unnecessary, but it's at least good to know that Damon and Greengrass got at least us excited for Bourne a little bit once again. They haven't done anything with Jason Bourne since then. They've been trying to get another movie series off the ground with the guy who did All Quiet on the Western Front and Conclave, Edward Berger, but I don't know what the direction of that is going on right now. But there still has been some Bourne stuff. Treadstone, which was the show on USA Network that ran for a season, and then they have the Bourne Stuntacular now in Universal next to, it's right where Terminator 2 used to be at, Terminator 3D. But I haven't been down to Universal to see it yet, so I can't really say if it's any good or not. But it looks pretty cool. But yeah, as far as Jason Bourne the movie goes, it's fine. It's not the greatest thing ever, but it certainly is a nice return to form for Bourne in general. But I really do think there was a lot more left on the table here with this film overall, so take that for what you will. It's at least enjoyable than the next movie we have here, and yeah, this is one of those movies where it's another one of those movies where people praise it like crazy as the next great comedy classic, and I'm just looking at it and going like, what the fuck are you guys smoking? This is terrible. Bad Moms.
Bad Moms.
Look at your mom bra.
This is my sexy bra.
It looks like you have one long boob.
It's a uniboob.
Shut up, Meg. Just shut up. And I'm not saying it just at her. I mean, it's not her fault this is bad. It's just she's given really bad material. In fact, everybody in this is given really bad material. I hate this movie, man. But Mila Kunis stars as a mother who has a seemingly perfect life, a great marriage, overachieving kids, a beautiful home, and a career. However, she's overworked, overcommitted, and exhausted to the point that she's about to snap. Fed up, she joins forces with two other overstressed moms, played by Kristen Bell and Katherine Hahn, on a quest to liberate themselves from conventional responsibilities, going on a wild, unmom-like binge of long-overdue freedom, fun, and self-indulgence, putting them on a collision course with PTA Queen Bee Gwendolyn, played by Christina Applegate, and her a clique of devoted perfect moms played by Jada Pinkett Smith and Annie Momolo from Bridesmaids. This shouldn't be a bad movie at all with that cast in general, but man, this movie was just torture to sit through. I think the biggest problem is the script is absolutely atrocious. This is written by John Lucas and Scott Moore, who, shockingly enough, wrote the best Hangover movie, the first one. They did 21. I mean, not 21, 20... Okay, I got my movies wrong. I thought they wrote the 21 starring Kevin Spacey, but no. They wrote 21 and Over, which was a terrible Project X knockoff. And so why not make a Hangover knockoff, except instead of having it be about a movie where, you got 4 guys go to Las Vegas and get crazy. Let's have it be these moms getting crazy because they're just so sick and tired of the status quo. And it's just kind of like, just stop. I mean, this movie was torture to sit through. Their attempts at humor are just not funny at all. The whole point of Mila Kunis's character in this movie is, let's see how much shit we can throw at her. Like, let's have it where her kids are such assholes. Let's have their dog, who doesn't know how to pee straight, or walk around without hitting a wall and all that. It's just kind of like, why is that funny? Where's the comedy? Where's the humor in this? And it doesn't help that everybody is just so stupid in this. Everyone is just way too stupid for their own good. And it's just not funny at all. It is such a boring ass movie. It is so not funny. There's just nothing of value to it whatsoever. And I say it got praised by critics. It didn't get the best reviews overall. It got a 59% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is usually in the middle, sort of that type of thing. I mean, it just is, but it was a massive hit. It was the biggest hit for STX Films at the time, who basically just said after the first weekend, we're going to franchise the shit out of this. We've got a Christmas movie that will be out next year. We're going to do a spin-off called Bad Dads. And then after Bad Moms Christmas comes out, we're going to have a spin-off with the moms in that movie called Bad Moms Moms, because that's clearly what our audience wants. And why stop there? We're already going to start developing a TV series to air on Fox, an unscripted version, The Real Bad Moms. And we'll have a book based off of it. Just like, oh my god, just stop. Like, I mean, Jesus Christ. I thought The Hangover... I mean, Jesus Christ, it's Bad Moms. It's just like, Jesus Christ. I thought Warner Brothers over-franchising The Hangover to death was bad. They were starting to over-franchise this before they even figured out if the movie was going to have a life to it. That's how terrible this movie is. And again, it would help if the movie was good, but it's just not. It's made by people who, A, are trying to write a movie that appeals to, like, the female demographic and all that. 2, it's trying to be a raunchy movie for the female audience, except they want to be like, well, we want to be raunchy, but we don't want to be too raunchy for the drunken gal pals that are gonna go see this movie, because we don't want to hurt their feelings, because we don't think Misery makes for great comedy, which is false, because Misery is the best form of comedy, and this was just torture. They don't even give the bad guys in this movie, Christina Applegate and her crony of mothers, a reason to really hate these women whatsoever. Because, oh, how dare you do against the thing? I'm go against our clique structure. You know what she reminds me of? She reminds me of the antagonist in the Bratz movie, where in that movie, you have these 4 girls who are so perfect and so different from what the norm is, that whenever they go against this teenage girl who controls everything in the lunchroom, she spends the next 4 years the next 3-4 years trying to destroy their life, and that's the end result. And that's the end result of this whole thing. It's just like, and the end result is like, she's seeking revenge on this. Well, she has so many other better things to do with her life. It's just like, go get laid or something. And it's just like, that's one thing I want to say to the mothers in this movie. It's just like, go get laid. Get a life already, for God's sakes. Nothing about this movie feels normal at all. Nothing about this movie feels sane. The jokes in this movie are terrible. even the kids hate the mothers in this movie. Like, there's one part in the movie where Mila Kunis's kids are just like, I can't believe I'm gonna miss my first soccer practice. And Mila Kunis is just like, they're in the car and it's just like, look, I'm trying, okay? And then she's like, well, try harder, dude. You know good and goddamn well if that was a real mother, she would have grabbed a belt and beat the shit out of that kid. But no, that kind of child abuse that we had when we were growing up, can't do that anymore, not in this day and age, because that would mean we actually gave a shit about parenting our kids, which, kind of think of it, it sucked back then when I was growing up, but I think I should be grateful now that I lived at that time when that was okay and nobody gave you shit for it, because, man, like, I mean, I'm not saying you need to abuse your child like that, but it's just like, you need to punish your kids better, or treat them, just don't be shitty to your kids, man. I see so many bad parenting at the job I work at, and so many other places where you could just tell there are parents out there that didn't want these kids, and they're just like, well, if I had to suffer making her, I'm gonna make you all suffer by dragging her around there. It's just like, not everybody is like that, but I just see that so many times with more people than not, but I'm just going off topic here right now. I really have nothing else to say about this movie, except the fact that it's a bad movie. The comedy isn't funny. It wastes all this good talent. There's just the story is completely pointless. It's a movie where they were trying way too hard to make this like the next big hangover blockbuster, and even before the film could get out of theaters, they were already planning to franchise it so badly, to the point where it was already dead within a span of two years. The franchise was already dead within a span of 2 years, because you didn't wait to see if the film was going to have longevity to it. I mean, I got nothing else for you, man. You get the point? You get the point that the movie's not good? I hope so. So, anyway, that's Bad Moms for you. Don't worry, I'll have more to say when A Bad Moms Christmas comes out in a year and a half, so let's see if we can end the show on a much more positive note with our last movie that we have here. Emma Roberts and Dane Franco starring in Nerve.
That's the craziest thing I've ever done. You were incredible.
Nerve, rated PG-13, now play.
Man, that trailer was bad, but I gotta be honest, this is one of those movies where the trailer is the worst thing about it, because it's one of those movies that I feel like is trying way too hard to appeal to the teeny demographic that this movie is going for, but believe it or not, this actually is not that bad of a movie. It's directed by the guys who did Catfish, and did the best Paranormal Activity movie, Paranormal Activity 3, and the writer of this is the same person that did the Simple Favor movies, so yeah. There's a lot of good things about the movie. That's a good premise, too. Emma Roberts and Dave Franco star in a movie which revolves around an online dare game which allows people to enlist as players or watchers as the game progresses. The players are contacted and invited to participate in more dangerous dares than the prior ones. So, it's kind of a precursor to Twitch, to the days of Twitch and Kick, or all these streaming services out there. We have these people who are real-life streamers. Most of them are a lot of jackasses who are just trying to do whatever they take for clicks and views. Basically, clout-chasing influencers. But, I mean, this was about 10 years before it became the norm. And in a way, it's kind of a better movie than something very similar to it, which was Gamer, which had kind of the same idea to it, where you're playing this game, and you're also using the people in the real world as competitors, which coincidentally, Lionsgate was also the same company that released this. It's actually not a bad movie, man. It actually was a pretty solid film. You do buy the chemistry between Roberts and Franco in this movie. You do buy the setup they're trying to build here. It's not perfect overall, and there are definitely those moments where it feels like they are trying way too hard to appeal to the to the Gen Z generation of the time period. It's actually not a bad movie. It's a film that has a lot of promise to it. There is a lot of cool ideas to it. I just wish there was maybe a little bit more to kind of make it stand out on its own a little bit more, but to its credit, it's not bad, and it's made by competent filmmakers who know what they're doing and have a good idea of what they're trying to accomplish with it. And like I said, the leading performances in this are really good. You have also a lot of good performances by Juliette Lewis, playing the mother of Emma Roberts' character. Emily Mead's pretty good in here. Kimiko Glenn, who you know from Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and also she's the voice of Baby Shark, and she's on Close Enough, the regular show continuation. Even Mark John Jeffries, the little kid from what movie was he in? He was one of those kid actors that you saw a lot in the early 2000s. Like, he was in The Haunted Mansion, he was in Stuart Little 2, he was actually in Get Rich or Die Trying and Notorious, and I think he was in the 50 Cent show Power, if I'm not mistaken. He's pretty good in here too. Samira Wiley. You got cameos by people like Casey Neistat and Chloe Wise, who were like the big YouTube influencers of the time period. But I mean, it's a cool idea, and it does make for a very enjoyable movie. Not maybe a groundbreaking film in general, but at least showed a lot more promise to it than it probably could have had. And it certainly is a lot better than those trailers made it out to be. So yeah, it's definitely one worth checking out if you haven't seen it. Nerve is definitely a very underrated little gem of a film. And thus, with all that said, we wrap up another episode of Time About the Movies, and boy, are we starting August off on a very promising note. We have the second film from the DC Extended Universe, Suicide Squad, from director David Ayer, featuring Will Smith. As Will Smith, you have Viola Davis, Joel Kinnaman, Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn, and everyone's favorite Joker, Cholo Joker, played by Jared Leto. Oh, what fun is that going to be? But the fun is going to continue, because after that we have a movie that is so bad, some people consider it to be good. I would consider it to be the ultimate career killer, not just for its star Kevin Spacey, but for its director, Barry Sonnenfeld, the director of The Addams Family and Men in Black. 9 Lives. Sweet mother of God, what a fucking downfall for Barry Sonnenfeld. But we're going to take a look at both of those movies tomorrow here on the channel, so stay tuned for that. It's going to be a good one. But, with all that said, thank you so much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please go ahead and do me the honors of hitting that like button, the subscribe button, and that notification button. Also, don't forget to check out our playlist, and don't forget to check out the previous episode we did. With all that said, whether it's in the past, the present, or the future, I will see you at the movies. Take care.